You know that feeling, right? That little jolt of panic? The light turns green, you hit the gas, the engine roars, but your car just sits there. It's frustrating, and honestly, it can be a little scary. So today we're going to figure out exactly what's happening when your engine revs, but your car won't go.
Picture this. You're at a stoplight, you press the accelerator, that RPM needle shoots up, and all you hear is the sound of an engine working its heart out. But you're either barely crawling forward, or worse, not moving an inch. It's a really weird feeling that can leave you stranded. So what is actually going on under the hood? Okay, let's get right into it. The very first thing to understand is that, deep down, this probably isn't an engine problem. Your engine's doing its job just fine. It's making plenty of power. The issue, no matter what the specific cause ends up being, boils down to one simple concept: a failure in power transfer. So what do we mean by that? Well, think of it like a bicycle. Your legs are the engine, right? You're pedaling, creating power. The chain is like your car's transmission, and it connects that power to the wheels. Now, if that chain falls off, you can pedal as fast as you want, but that back wheel isn't going anywhere. That's a power transfer failure, and it's the perfect way to think about what's happening in your car. Now for some good news. The most common cause for this is also the easiest and cheapest one to check. So before we start worrying about big, expensive mechanical parts, let's start with the absolute first place you or your mechanic should be looking. Your transmission fluid is, and I'm not exaggerating, the absolute lifeblood of the system. See, it's not just a lubricant, it's a hydraulic fluid, and its job is to create the massive pressure needed to actually engage the gears. If the fluid level is too low, or if it's old and contaminated, there's just not enough hydraulic force to get the job done. And checking it yourself is actually pretty straightforward. First, just make sure you're parked on flat, level ground. Then, with the engine running, put the car in park or neutral. You'll want to check your owner's manual for exactly what your car needs. Then, just pull out the transmission dipstick, wipe it clean, stick it all the way back in, and pull it out again. You're looking at the level, the color, and yeah, even the smell. What you find on that little dipstick is basically a report card for your transmission. If the level is just low, topping it up with the correct type of fluid might fix your problem right then and there. But if that fluid is dark brown and has a burnt smell, it's basically cooked. It's lost its ability to do its job and needs to be completely flushed out. And hey, if you see little shiny metal particles in the fluid, that is a major red flag. It points to serious internal damage, and it's definitely time to call a pro. Okay, so what if your fluid looks and smells just fine? Well, the next place to look is at the core mechanical hardware, and what we're looking for here really depends on whether you're driving a manual or an automatic. If you're driving a stick shift, the number one suspect is a worn-out clutch. Think of the clutch as a big friction disc that grabs onto the engine's flywheel. When it wears out, that friction material is literally gone, so it just can't grip anymore. You'll feel the engine RPMs just fly up with almost no acceleration, and you'll definitely notice a really nasty burning smell, kind of like burnt toast. Now, in an automatic, the likely culprit is the torque converter. It's a really complex fluid coupling, and when it starts to fail on the inside, it can feel like the car is shuddering, vibrating, or even about to stall when you try to pull away from a stop.
All right, so if it's not the fluid and it doesn't seem to be the clutch or the torque converter, then we have to start looking at some less common but much more serious internal problems. This is where the symptoms tend to get a bit louder and more alarming.
So what are these big warning signs? Are you hearing loud clunking or grinding noises when the car even tries to shift? Does it feel like it's just popping out of gear all on its own? Or maybe there's a long, scary delay followed by a hard thump when it finally engages. These are all classic signs of an internal failure. Oh, and also pay attention to the shifter itself. If it feels all loose and disconnected in your hand, the problem could actually be something as simple as a broken shifter cable. Now, for all of you driving more modern cars, there's another layer to this whole puzzle. It's not always just about fluids and gears and friction anymore. Sometimes the problem is in the wiring.
That's right, the whole issue could be electronic. Newer cars rely on the car's brain, the engine control module, or ECM, and a whole network of sensors to manage everything. If a key sensor fails, or if the module itself has a glitch, the computer might just refuse to tell the transmission to engage a gear, even if all the mechanical parts are perfectly fine. It's like a digital safety switch that leaves you completely stuck. So, we've looked at all the potential causes, from something as simple as topping up fluid to complex computer issues. With all that in mind, what is the single most important thing you should do the moment you experience this problem?
This right here, this quote, is the single most critical takeaway. Every single time you rev that engine and the transmission slips, you're creating a massive amount of friction and heat. That heat can absolutely destroy the remaining healthy parts of your transmission really fast. You can easily turn a repairable problem into one that requires a full and very, very expensive replacement.
So here's the bottom line. Whatever the specific cause is, this is a symptom you absolutely cannot ignore. It's not going to get better on its own. The moment you feel that slip, that disconnect between the engine sound and the car's movement, it's time to pull over safely, stop driving, and get it diagnosed.
And really, that's what it all comes down to. Trying to keep driving is a huge gamble, and the odds are definitely not in your favor. Getting the problem checked out today could mean the simple, relatively cheap fix. Waiting almost guarantees a much bigger, much more expensive headache down the road. So please, get it checked out. Thanks for watching, and drive safe.